Welcome to the Dr. PhilGood, our weekly broadcast on trauma recovery, cellular health, and real life healing from the inside out.
This series is proudly sponsored by the Patrick Risha CTE Awareness Foundation, whose mission is to prevent CTE through education and early intervention.
A mission that's critical for families like ours navigating brain injury, behavioral changes, and long-term caregiving.
You can visit them at stopcte.org.
Welcome back to Dr. PhilGood. I am Fru Carson.
I'm David Carson.
And today's episode is one we've approached with a lot of care.
Because this isn't just about awareness. This is about a real life, a real loss, and what families are facing behind closed doors.
Today we're honored to sit down with Karen Zegel and Doug Zegel, who are leading the mission behind the Patrick Risha CTE Awareness Foundation.
And before we talk about the foundation, we're going to start with Patrick.
But before we do that, I would like to thank both of you for being here today. We're really grateful for having you here. And Karen, we'd love for you to introduce us to him with your own words.
To Patrick?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, first of all, thank you for having us. We're honored to be here. We're very proud of the work you're doing, and keep doing it. We want to support you as much as we can. Patrick, a loss that we'll talk about later, but sweet, kind, smart. You know, when you were talking about how smart you were, David, he was so smart, could do anything, handsome as all get out. And I thanked the Lord every day for Patrick and Amanda being in my life and being gifted with such beautiful children with really no problems. It was joy from day one. It was joy. Unfortunately, Patrick changed. And the Patrick that used to invite everybody over to the house, wanted as many friends as he could have, was the little social kid. From the time he was a year and a half, he was inviting kids over to sleep over he didn't even know their names.
Yeah,
he would ask them.
Yeah.
It was like he just liked people. He liked the underdog. He would always take care of in the playground, anybody picking on anyone. He was the one to make sure everybody was happy. He was a people pleaser. He was just friendly and kind.
And it came easy for him? Natural, huh?
That was his nature.
Natural, yeah.
And then, you know, because of his dad being a football coach and him being around football, he gravitated to football. And I think, I mean, he could have done anything. He was a great baseball player. He whatever he tried, he was good at. He was a good athlete. But I think football was a little hard for him because he had to prove he had heart. He had to prove he could hurt people. He had to prove that he could master on the field. And I think that part was out of character for him. But he became the team captain, got everybody else in the team that was just as scared as he was to be a football player, got them doing it too. But then we started seeing little changes in Patrick. So there's the Patrick before football, and then there's the Patrick during football, and then there's the Patrick after football. And I think,
how old was he when he started playing football? Do you remember that?
10 years old. And
then you noticed the changes at what age was that?
I would say high school.
Mm-hmm.
He started to get
16,
into fights.
17.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Started to get into fights, started experimenting with drugs, marijuana, and things with his buddies in the basement,
Drinking alcohol.
drinking, just things that were out of character for him. And then he started showing some signs of depression. I grounded him one time and he took a whole bottle of Tylenol. Things like that were very, like there was no mental illness in either side of our families until Patrick. And then all of a sudden we were like, what is this? Where is this coming from? And we were reading books on things, but we just attributed it to, the protein drinks he was drinking in high school. We thought they were messing with his serotonin. It seemed like his serotonin was being depleted, and I think it was. And so, but I blamed it. I didn't know anything about CTE or brain inflammation or anything like that. I was worried about broken bones. I didn't think that the brain was anything really to worry about other than, if he had a spinal cord injury or something like that. So I thought it was, and I tried to get him to quit doing those protein drinks. And so he goes to prep school, he goes to college. We hear crazy stories Patrick would do in college and, partying in New York with friends or wherever he was. It was always a crazy Patrick story. And you kind of attributed that to college. There were, lots of college stories of crazy things that kids did. And it wasn't until we got Patrick home from college that it was shocking. It wasn't Patrick.
Did he live with you guys when he came back from college, or did he have his own
Lived
apartment?
with his daddy, and then he came and lived with me for a while. He kind of bounced all around.
How old was he when he came out from school?
22.
22. You know his story. This is how you and I met. We didn't. Yeah. I think we should have done that in the introduction to this. But how her and I met is I wrote a story and sent it out to all these different foundations, and she read it in an email and said, "This is just like my son's," and we've been close ever since. His story and mine matched completely. Same age too.
Yeah. And I hear that all the time, David, from other people. I mean, brain injury journey, brain inflammation journey, it's so similar.
It's like a thumbprint.
The brightest and the most handsome and the most capable young men that seems to afflict the most. And I heard at Boston, they said there's a gene that a lot of these guys have that could be the problem, and it's a gene that makes you good looking. So,
I don't think so. I don't have any problems like that.
It's a male thing.
But,
I see.
but if I may, David, if you look at it in the bigger context, and Karen and I have discussed this, the symptoms that Karen just described, with the exception of taking a whole bottle of pills, are also the symptoms of a rite of passage. That complicates the issue tremendously.
Yeah, people don't recognize it.
Growing up, we're trying to figure out who we are. We're being emancipated. Right. We're experimenting. We're having our first drink or our first smoke, and we're going to act out a little bit. And in isolation, none of those are reasons for the antenna to go up.
Right.
But unfortunately, when you look back in retrospect, these things are crystal clear.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the struggle. And to raise awareness, you have to cut through all that and then add social media and all the nonsense of today on top of there was none of that back then. And how do you sort that out? I'm not trying to complicate the issue, but
it's true.
Yeah. So when he came back from school, how long was it before the suicide? How long from the time he came back from school? How long was he home? And
10 years.
so 10 years. Now I'm asking that question because I after my car accident that sent me over the edge, it changed me completely in '08. There was a 10-year period there that was in between before I met her, and I had dealt with this suicide all through that. And my parents lost me, but they didn't know. They just thought I was a rebellious heathen. You know, they didn't rite of passage. Our family and our heritage grows up, and you're a preacher, and you know, I was going off and playing football and partying and doing all that stuff, but I did come back and I became a preacher for about 5 years. And then did this happen with Patrick? Did he get focused on something that looked like it was going to be a career or something he was going to do, and then it changed and he lose passion in it?
So it's so hard because when he came back, we all expected him. Here we have a Dartmouth graduate, a good-looking, smart Dartmouth graduate. Okay, time to find a job. Like he always talked about maybe going to law school or becoming a senator or doing, he wanted to do good things for people, and he liked helping people, and he thought he could, you know, be a good lawyer and help people, or he could work in Congress and help people. But he couldn't get off the ground. And so then we found out that he came to visit me and said, you know, that he was addicted to Percocet. And he got addicted from his back injury in college. And so then we sent him to rehab, and he was in rehab a while, and it was in rehab that they said he had ADHD. And we were like, where the heck did that come from? And so when he came home, he was taking Adderall, and when he could take the Adderall, he was like back to normal.
Yeah,
basically.
that's what it did for me too during those years.
But the trouble was I think he would take more.
Well, that's exactly what, it's a gene that we have, you know. Dr. DeMeo has pointed it out. It's a gene we have that causes us to seek more
and
dopamine.
so then it would get out of control, and then he would get back on the Percocet, and then he also struggled with gambling online. And when I would try to stop him, or I took 6 computers away from him. I have them in my attic. I don't know what to do with them. I feel there might be something on it where he says, "I love you, Mom," so I'm afraid to get rid.
Don't throw them away, right?
But I kept taking his computers away, and he'd get another computer and do online gambling again. He was really becoming a mess. And then he started he started getting involved in a business, and he was starting to do well, but then this is where his mental executive functioning was failing him. He had ended up having audio processing disorder. So you would have a conversation with him and say, okay, you'd have a work meeting. We're going to leave here, and then you're going to do this, this, and this, and so is going to do this, this, and this. And he would leave the meeting and go do just the opposite. And then his partner would say, but you were supposed to do. And then he'd get mad at the partner because the partner, no, that's not what we said in the meeting. And so it ended up being a lot of dysfunction. And then they ended up saying, you just stay home, we'll run this without you. And then he felt he was pushed out of the business. And so there was a lot of dysfunction going on that sadly, you know, we just we couldn't put a handle on it.
Was he already married at that time? Or I don't actually, I don't know that,
Patrick
deep.
never got
He never
married.
got married, okay, but he become
Got engaged, but things are really starting to fall apart at that point. And I mean, he got to the point where he couldn't sign his name. He couldn't tie his shoes. He couldn't. If he would take the Adderall, he'd be fine.
Yeah,
If,
ADD is horrific to deal with, or ADHD. It's with
yeah,
the brain injuries. I understand what he was feeling like just trying to get the camera and everything ready while ago. The pressure of tying my shoe, if someone was waiting for me, I wouldn't be able to either. So yes, it's hard.
he was really just struggling in life, just struggling to. It was just hard for him.
And he didn't know what was wrong either. Correct? He hadn't
It
talked.
makes me sad. He didn't know. I
Mhm.
think he was scared. I think he was terrified. He told me a couple times, Mom, if I told you some of the stuff I'm thinking about, you would be shocked. He had signs of schizophrenia every now and then. He would be talking to his dad. And I think one reason he didn't want to go out, he became very reclusive, which most people do, and became very paranoid. He thought everybody was talking about him, everybody knew about him and his difficulties, and he was embarrassed, and he just was kind of falling apart slowly.
Doug, I have a question for you. You heard so many more stories of Patrick than we ever have. What stood out for you? What's one story that you think makes his story very unique, or just a story that stood out for you for whatever reason?
Well, there's a lot of them, and I knew Patrick for the last 3 years of his life. But I'll tell you that knowing Karen, knowing her daughter, and then knowing Patrick, something, in general, I couldn't understand Patrick's behavior. I just couldn't get it because he's, as Karen said, he's a bright college graduate, smart guy, and I just couldn't understand what was going on. But he was trying to get rid of or trade his vehicle down to, I think it was a pickup truck, and I went to help him at the car dealer through this transaction. And as always at a dealership, everything takes forever.
Yeah.
And we spent a lot of time with the salesman, and Patrick and the salesman were having a really fun conversation. And sales guy, being a typical sales guy, he knew of Patrick's football, and he was, they were talking about the playoffs and this and that and the other thing. And Patrick was really enjoying the conversation and kind of reminiscing. And the sales guy said to Patrick, "Did you ever have a concussion?" And Patrick said, I played since I was 10. I never had a concussion. And he said, "Wow, that's amazing." And and then Patrick stopped him. He said, "But there is one game that I don't remember the second half of. They told me I scored 2 touchdowns, but I have no recollection whatsoever,
Yeah.
still to this day."
Wow.
So, and we hate the word concussion because it obscures the real
Correct.
challenge.
Exactly.
But that really stood out to me, which is you were so tough and so determined that you swept that stuff aside because there was another practice, where you got a hit, and there's another game where you got
Just
to
keep
really
going.
hit.
Yeah.
Wow. So, what kind of help did you seek for Patrick for the first time when you mentioned mental illness, and I actually I want to talk about that a little bit because I like that, since you didn't think of CTE, that's where you went immediately, right? And then, as you said, there was nothing in the family. So So did you get him into, besides of the rehab, did you get him into therapy, or what did you try?
So in the beginning, it was just he would go to rehab, they would diagnose him with something, and then we would deal with that after the rehab. He went to his doctor and would tell them different things, but he never got diagnosed with anything from the doctor. But then in the incident that Doug's talking about, when Doug came back and told me that, I went, oh my God, maybe we're dealing with a concussion, post-concussive syndrome of some kind. So I took him to the top concussion doctor in our area. And Patrick at the time was having pain spasms that would travel all over his body. He would have pain here one day, pain in his ankle the
like
next
an
day.
electrical storm.
Yeah, it was awful.
You could see the muscles
suffered.
contracting.
Patrick truly suffered. And we did not know what was going on. We didn't know it was brain inflammation. We didn't know really what was. But so the day he had his concussion doctor appointment, he was saying his ankle hurt too bad. He couldn't go. And I said, no, you're going. And I wheeled him out to my car in a rolling desk chair, put him in the car, got to the doctor's office, got a desk chair from there, wheeled him into the doctor's office, and put him in there, and this top concussion doctor's there. And Patrick started talking, and the doctor said, Patrick, have you ever taken drugs? And Patrick said yes. And he said, well, I think you're dealing with drug issues. I don't think you're dealing with concussion issues.
They didn't know much back then.
They
didn't know much back then.
Patrick was one of the, he deserves no credit because he should know. I think any concussion.
Yes, they should. I got diagnosed polysubstance abuse. Bipolar 1, polysubstance abuse was my diagnosis they gave me.
Yeah. So, but it hurt Patrick and hurt my relationship with Patrick because I'm thinking, okay, I'm not dealing with a concussion issue.
Right.
I'm dealing with, and when he would slur his words,
you automatically thought he was
when
drunk.
you have brain inflammation, you slur your words. I would assume automatically, okay, what are you taking, Patrick? And that had to hurt because I know he was trying hard. Yeah. And so it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare for him because he said, nobody understands me. And he was right. Nobody understood him. Doctors can't help me. He was right. Doctors couldn't help him. And home, and we tried to give him everything we could, of roof over his head, food, whatever. We loved him dearly and enabled him. I would have enabled him more had I known what I know now, but we were enabling him to just be what he was and not improve, but we didn't know. We really didn't know what we were doing.
Well, you can't go back and fix that, but what you guys are doing with your life now that's a big thing, you guys.
I say to people, and Karen doesn't like it, but I say she would be well justified to spend the rest of her life staring out of the attic window, right. And no one would fault her for that.
No.
Right.
But if you harness your energy and so many foundations and so many nonprofits start for the same reason, which is we didn't know, but that doesn't mean everybody else doesn't have to know. And
there's probably 100 foundations right now, just like ours, that started because they had a young football player and they lost him. And there's going to be 200 next year, and there's going to be 300. It's just horrific. And
that movie trilogy that I sent to you guys last year that I've written, making a music video and movie trilogy, it brings that into light of a foundation, a founder of a foundation with the son that had lost his life. I don't know if you remember reading that story, the change of how I believe that that's what you guys are doing. It's come to me, and now you've changed my life. And now what I'm doing with the art and the message that I have is in return, 5-10 years from now, people are going to be getting help that could never have gotten help, that would have been gone just like Patrick is. But now people are able to. So his life in return is saving so many more. Thanks to you guys.
Thank you for doing that. Yes.
Nobody should have to go through this.
No,
that's correct.
And I get so mad because this could be stopped tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL could say, you know what, children shouldn't be playing this game. High school players shouldn't be playing this game. College players they could do flag football. And then if you want to be like a pro boxer or pro whatever, pro tackle football player, do it in the pros. But they are so money hungry.
Yep.
That the colleges are money hungry.
And I think that society is so conditioned, to believe that this is what entertainment has to look like.
That they've been trained to be like that by the NFL.
Oh yes, absolutely.
The NFL spends a lot on advertising and persuasion, and they could do. They could be. Why can't we just care about our fellow man? Why do we have to make so much money?
Right.
How much time you got?
Yeah. It's just like, it's really, it breaks my heart because like, I feel we truly, like we have a billboard on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. We had one last year on 95. We may be saving a life, maybe one or two, and boy, wouldn't that be, if somebody's not dealing with what we're dealing with, wouldn't that be wonderful? But we don't know. But the NFL tomorrow could save hundreds of thousands of lives.
And you keep doing what you're doing, and all of us in this little community that are working their tails off to raise awareness, things are going to change. And I like what y'all are doing with the coaches this year. That's a really good step.
We need coaches. Yeah. Anybody listening, please share our coaches campaign.
You want to tell the story about it?
Just send it to them.
Yes, tell a little bit about it, and then we'll put a link under this video where they can be part of it, where they can find more. So what's the program that you're doing with the coaches?
The program is to have brain healthy teams. So there's no such thing probably as a brain healthy team, but
brain healthier team.
But if you're going to play tackle football, let's try to be a little more concerned about the children and the brains that you have in front of you. And so it's just hitting out of practice.
60% of the injuries or the impacts take place in practice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
No one should be hitting their own.
There's no reason for it.
There's no reason for it. The pros
you can learn your
don't
plays. Yeah.
It's being able to recognize when someone has brain inflammation. Like if you see a kid slow to get up or seem a little fogged in or doing anything that would seem like they're not normal, like they're sitting down, they're fatigued, anything that is a little bit out of the normal, that doesn't mean it's a concussion. But it could mean it's brain inflammation. And if you've got somebody with brain inflammation, Lord, you don't want them going out and get hit. You need to let them sit down. And so we have a coach on a video that talks about how he took hitting out of practice. We have Practice Like the Pros founder, Terry O'Neill, talking about they will come and help coaches, train coaches to take hitting out of practice. We have Corey Berry and Paul Fraze, an NFL player, talking about their experiences. We have a young man who was in our area, Mike. In our area, he was like the quad 4 high school in the playoffs hero. And then he went on to play at Penn. And then he went on to coach one of our...
Princeton, right? Was it Princeton?
No, I think it was Penn.
Oh.
And then he went on to coach a big local football team. And he talks about the things he's learned going through all of that. And that's a good video. And and then Dr.
I enjoyed this. I can't remember the doctor's name, but I enjoyed that one.
Dan Shabar.
Oh, yeah.
I love him. He talks about, just training coaches on what happens to the brain when they're playing tackle football.
And they're much more healthier when they're not, less injuries. They got more speed. They got, reserve it for the game. And it's a great plan.
It for Friday night.
It's a great
Why
plan.
do you want your team all fogged in and beaten up and then they're going in playing an adversary that, So anyway, we're hoping it gets some, we're paying a lot for the outreach on social media, and they give you all these parameters like 300,000 views, and you don't know.
No, because you don't necessarily talk to them.
Yeah, so you just don't know, but we're trying.
You constantly worry about his safety. Then why aren't you worried about this? Protect his brain. Prevent CTE. Learn more at stopcte.org.
We're trying.
Well, we love to share your guys' commercials. You guys got great commercials. You're doing really good with those. I enjoy them.
Yes.
I like to. You got what? I got two 15-second ones and one 30-second commercial.
Yeah, probably. There's a couple. There's probably on YouTube. We have probably about 5 commercials.
Okay.
Oh.
Because every year we come up with new ones. Now this year we didn't because we did the coaches.
We'll put one in the middle of this.
Yes.
In the middle of this, we're at 20 minutes yet, Fru?
Yes, I don't know.
Well,
I wasn't.
I put one right in the middle of our podcast, and I put one at the end, and put one at the beginning.
We'll
so you guys get 3
too.
on this.
Thank you.
So, Karen, what do you feel comfortable sharing about the day when you lost Patrick?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing comfortable about that.
So what do you feel comfortable sharing about?
I would just say the only thing I would say to anybody listening out there, suicide is such a horrible thing. And I don't think Patrick wanted to leave us. I really don't. But I think he was tired. He hadn't slept for 3 or 4 days. And try not sleeping for 3 or 4 days and see how you're functioning. You're not.
Correct.
And that's the trouble with brain inflammation type diseases. They cannot sleep.
And that makes worse the brain inflammation.
Yeah. And then the irrational thinking. Patrick had done a lot of irrational thinking for like 10 years. So you combine it with the irrational thinking. And then his girlfriend was dating someone. Peyton's mom was dating somebody and he didn't like who she was dating, and he wanted to come show me all the data that he had spent days. So I think he wasn't sleeping trying to gather data on this person, and he wanted me to try to stop it. And So I think he was losing sleep, frenetic over issues, and in an unhappy place in his life. We were trying to get him to stand on his own 2 feet, and um, he really couldn't. And my only advice to anybody, if you suspect, if they played football or they ran a jackhammer or they were part of domestic abuse, or if they were in the military, if they're changing in front of your eyes, they're probably dealing with something, and any little thing to provoke them, be aware that that could be something that could trigger. So they don't want to leave. I think Patrick, it was an accident when he left. He was on the phone with me and he died mid-sentence. And I think it was an accident, but I think he put himself in a bad place. He put himself where it could happen. And they say, like, if you're struggle, there's a song out now, it was on American Idol, call your mom. If you're in a bad place or depressed, call your mom. Well, Patrick called his mom, and his mom messed up. His mom
didn't mess up.
Well,
but I think we've all been in situations in our life where you're boxed in, and every place you look is our trouble.
Yeah.
And there's,
Yeah,
and you start spiraling because, this person slighted you. You can't talk to your boss. Your partner is cheating you. This is that and that. And the mailman's scowling at you, and he's got the easiest job in the world because he just has to drive around and deliver letters. And it just goes round and round and round. And I don't think any of us are qualified to break the spiral. You can say, I love you, please just take a deep breath. But what's
He actually
you just do your best.
He actually
None of
told
us
me
are
on the
prepared
phone
for
call,
this.
I know what you're trying to do, Mom. You're trying to make me stand on my own 2 feet. I know what you're trying to do.
And we were.
And he was trying to tell me I can't.
Yeah.
But he just, it was just.
There's so much you've learned over the last 10 years that if you knew then, you'd do something different. But you can't go back there.
But I also have to.
And we can teach moms and dads now.
And I can, well, even though I don't know, of course, the mother's point of view, but I know the wife's point of view. And I have to say, Karen, that I know from my very own experience that doing the right thing in a situation that's extremely stressful and you already exploited, everything that you knew you could do, it's not really possible because you're not functioning in the same way than you would function if you were not going through stressful situations. So on that note, I'd like to say that that's why there is like no right or wrong. We can do better when we know when we're already over, when the situation is already over and then somebody helped us to understand or we got into a better frame of mind and we understood the situation differently. But when you are in the situation, I don't believe that anybody could have done better.
What I was going to ask you,
I think my better is doing this foundation.
Exactly.
That's exactly right.
My better is I messed up and I lost one of the best things in my life, and my better is to make sure that doesn't happen if I can, for at least one other person, maybe two, maybe.
Well, you've done it in our life. I don't know if you know that.
And I was going to say this too, by the way, because we're not talking about this, but yesterday and the day before yesterday, David spent hours talking to a young man who's 18 years old, and he's exactly probably where Patrick was at when he was 18. And we got 5 text messages from his mom this morning saying that how much it helped him and how much better he feels. And all of this wouldn't have been possible if 6 years ago, when he reached out to you, you didn't respond. I know how many times you were on the phone with him when I couldn't any longer talk to him. And you calmed him down, and you brought that peace into our life, which allowed him to do this for others. So this is
Yeah,
incredible.
you guys have changed my life.
David, don't you ever leave me, because that would really put me over the
Yes,
edge.
ma'am.
Just saying.
Yes, ma'am. Trust me,
I'm
I've been
hanging
on
by my fingernails now in life.
I've been on that edge many times, and
I know. And
before I
just
go, I
saying,
call
you
Karen.
can't do that to me. Do
Yeah.
not do that to me.
I know who to call. I give you a call because you know how to get me off the edge. You've gone through too much, and you always have been able to see the best in me, no matter how I'm seeing myself and what I'm dealing with, and that's a key thing. I was wanting to ask you, like, if you wanted to say something to just one loved one that has someone living with them like me, and this includes you, Fru. If you got a chance to tell someone that doesn't know anything about this, and they're living with someone like me or like Patrick, and they're trying to explain how they're not able to stand on their own 2 feet, or they might be screaming at you, telling you that when you say this, you make me, they're trying to explain. That's what I do a lot. I'm screaming and spitting about, don't say this, it triggers me. But what would you guys say to a loved one that knows nothing about living with
I
someone
would
like
say,
me?
Fru, you're a saint. And truly, you are. That's the one thing I love about your podcast, is that Fru is probably the best caregiver you will ever find. And she has a lot to share. And the two of you make such a great team. The two of you, people can kind of see how maybe, I don't know what it's like off camera, but on
We got plenty of it. Everything off camera is on camera. We got cameras
we
everywhere.
put cameras in every room. There is no
She's
such thing
so
anymore.
patient. She is so patient. I don't have her patience. I
Yeah,
don't.
you're pretty good.
No.
Experience is a great teacher. Unfortunately, we try to teach our kids that learning is fun, but we learn more through the pain and suffering we've endured.
Yes.
Here's what David did yesterday, and what needs to be done every day is to see the person in front of you. And David is equipped to understand that 18-year-old boy's challenge because he's lived it. But the people on the front lines of law enforcement out in the street, they see somebody that they believe is a fully functioning human being that should know better. Mm-hmm. And so many of the brain injury victims they're human beings, but they're not fully functioning.
Right.
You're putting the parameters that you expect from them on them, and it's not helping. But when you say, I see you, I hear you, and let them emote and don't interrupt, and suddenly the conversation can happen, and some of that toxic thinking can escape their brain. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, because when mom says, honey, you need more sleep. Honey, yeah, I've got the solution. You have too much salt in your diet. Mm-hmm. You're just throwing stuff at them, and they're going, you don't even know you're trying to solve a problem that I'm not even talking about. If you understand what I'm saying.
I tried to tell him about losing his golf clubs. In that conversation where I lost him, we talked about how he lost a golf club, and I'm trying to tell him how to put it between you and the cart. That way you walk past it.
He lost 3 clubs that day in one round of golf.
But it's insanity that I thought.
I believe one really interesting part, if I ever, I really hope to get it done this year. I've got a lot further mentally with the movie part. I have a structured way of getting this thing actually done within this year, and I think that's going to be a really, really good outreach that's going to educate folks, because you get to see the inside part where she doesn't have patience and I'm a lunatic. And how do we deal with that? And what
I
You have
wanna
to
what
see
was
see
that.
going
I don't
through
know if I want to see
that.
that.
She's
what
like a god to me.
Yeah, it's gonna go off the pedestal.
Yeah.
yeah, you don't want to see Fru any other way but a saint. No, you got to be able to, you know, Fru. I think there's nothing better than to see how the stuff we go through, and then how we come out of it. That's the key. We're not faking it. We're going through it, and then we man up, and we come out of it shining. Because the number one thing that I have to do is forgiveness is number one in this game. Forgiveness is number one. And I first have to wake up every day and forgive myself. Otherwise, I'm suicidal because I've done too many things to too many folks I love. And I didn't want to do any of those things, but the injuries I have took me to those places. And so I have to forgive myself. And I think that's really what I'm excited about working with you guys. You guys have been in support, helping us. So when I produce something, you guys are just a huge part of it, and you made it happen. We really appreciate you.
So when did you realize this was CTE, Karen? I don't even know if I'm supposed to address this question to you. How did CTE even come into the picture?
So a month before Patrick passed away, I had been to visit him, and I was doing his laundry and trying to open mail that had been sitting there for 3 months, and just trying to get him back on track, getting some food and stuff for him. And I came back to Amanda's house. I was staying with Amanda, and I came back to Amanda's house, and her girlfriend was there, Jackie, who had just done, she was a newscaster in Pittsburgh, and had just done a piece for League of Denial, which was a book about the NFL's hiding the information about CTE. And they were doing some stuff with some NFL players. And so she was covering that in her newscast. And she was there when I came home from Patrick's house. And I said, in front of them, I said, I feel like I'm talking to somebody from a different planet when I'm talking to Patrick. I don't feel like I'm talking to Patrick anymore. And Jackie said, do you think it could be CTE? And I'm like going, what are we talking about? She's going, the NFL players are finding this disease in their brains, and it comes from playing football. Do you think, Patrick was a great running back. He had the ball all the time. Do you think maybe he has CTE? And so she was going to try to set up with somebody at the University of Pittsburgh for him to get evaluated. And I told Patrick about that, and he had told a friend that, oh, my mom thinks I might have CTE. So, but we never got to really look into
So after that day, that horrible day, then it dawned on you to have his brain.
So, yeah, we said, let's find out.
Yeah, that was such a good move, wasn't it?
Well, it's like he was one of the youngest cases at the time that did not play in the NFL. And if it weren't for her words in that room, we never would have known. And that was the main reason for doing the website and starting the foundation. How the hell are parents not knowing about this?
Right.
How is this allowed to be that people do not know about this disease that kids are getting? And kids are getting it.
Yeah.
And
kids.
They
They found
still
one a
get
13-year-old kid, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
So it's yeah.
Well, we're gonna get it all. It's all gonna. I just think we're going through the process right now, and we're going to see the change. I believe we're young enough and you're young enough to see the change. You know, some things take 50 years to change. Look at OSHA and how they changed the safety guidelines of like what you do when you're building an iron worker, the things that they changed. It took a long time before they
Smoking
started
was
saving
50
lives.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the
I
beginning. You
don't
guys are
have 50
frontiering it.
years, David.
If you'll follow Fru's nutritional plan, you'll be here. You know, the key to
Miracle
this,
plan.
the key to my success in getting better and healing, because I've got symptoms that we still live with, and we dream someday maybe I'll be normal again, but I work hard to get there, and eating properly, exercising properly, and taking care of those things.
I wish I had Patrick to
Sleep.
Sleep, yes,
Sleep.
big
It's a number.
time.
You know, when I
Yes.
first met Fru, I only slept around 2 hours a night for like 10 or 15 years. And now I sleep all the way through the night. And
Yeah,
we're doing this at 7 years now. 7 years I've been getting better and better and better. And I believe that I can make it. Some days I don't know if I can, but I believe I can
think
make it.
they're so close to figuring out the blood-brain barrier to repair that. And I think that's what's causing a lot of the brain inflammation. At least that seems what the studies are saying. And if they can fix that, because that's the gut going through the blood-brain barrier, that's what you're working on, Fru. You're working
Right. I mean, honestly, I think because inflammation is the underlying cause for pretty much all chronic issues. I truly believe that if we look back in the past, you know, where men just ran around and hit each other in the head with whatever they had in their hands, you know, that why did we not have these problems? I think the main reason is the environmental toxins and toxins that we're dealing with that add to the gut inflammation and then increases the brain inflammation, and then we have, you know, like 13-year-old kids dealing with this issue, whereas a 13-year-old should be able to, at that stage where they can heal, the body heals itself, and it does it much faster when they're younger. So it's, but we see this with all chronic issues. Every single chronic issue now appears in children, and that's not a coincidence. There is a reason for that. So
Toxicity. They're chronic toxic encephalopathy.
there is a CTE, which is a chronic toxic encephalopathy.
And
that's
and
right.
I believe it's coming from our food's fully
And
packed with
that
all these
actually
toxins.
reminds me of that. I had a recent conversation with a friend who has 2 children with brain inflammation, not from brain injuries, but different conditions. And she told me that there is an organization formed in Colorado that 2 people who worked in prisons came out of the prison, and they created this foundation because they realized that our prisons are flooded with people with inflamed brains who are violent, and they are just there because they have brain inflammation. That's the only reason.
helping them.
Nobody's helping them, and they came out and started this foundation, and they creating a system for taking care of extremely violent cases where, you know, nobody wants to take care of them.
Well, when I was in jail last, and you wrote that letter explaining to the judge that, you know, what CTE is and believe what it is that I'm dealing with, if they could be educated in there. When I was in jail, I saw it's a 90% of the people in there have these brain injuries, and they just keep getting more.
I know it too.
It's documented.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I would just like for the 2 of you to talk a little bit about the foundation, like how it came about, and, you know, what its mission is, and how each one of you take a role in that.
Oh, poor Doug.
No.
Go, Doug. Huh?
I'll tell him we're going to a conference next week. Get ready. You have to write this article.
Karen does the lion's share of the lifting in the foundation with
Well, you're the
100%
you're the
endorsement and
backbone.
support. But she just said it's inconceivable that people don't know. It is totally inconceivable that this is such a difficult message to establish. But if you think about it, the brain is the final frontier, and I'll get to the foundation in 1 second. But we're protecting our eyes and our hearing and our groin and we're dealing with our heart and liver and lungs. What about the brain? The brain seems to be the last thing that we recognize that cannot be repeatedly hit, that cannot be repeatedly twisted and shaken. MMA is not good for your brain. We don't get it. And if there's anybody in your audience that has a good idea on how to get this message across, we'd sure love to hear it, because the foundation's mission is to raise awareness that you need to be respectful and supportive of your and your kids and your neighbors and your friends' brains. Brains run the whole show. The brain runs your autonomic nervous system as well as all your awareness and your thoughts, and it's everything until we treat it like it's nothing. And we've walked the halls of Congress. They told us it would take 10 years to get anything done. Karen's been, she testified down there. She's been on all the major networks. The articles have been written. We've done everything except convince people that Sunday is not for football. That Sunday is for there's got to be something better. Fru, you said it well. It's so woven into our society and our life, and it was part of our growing up. Halftime was mealtime on Sunday. And we would arrange our Sundays around the football schedule, whatever that was. And it's still that way. And if anything, it's more. And with the NIL, name, image, and likeness in college, these college kids are now multimillionaires. Yeah. They're pros, the stars. The motivation to put yourself in harm's way is greater than ever before. So the foundation does a whole lot of things. And Karen talked about billboards and ads and public service announcements and having a website where people can get information on managing the problem. We really also need to raise the awareness. If we understand a problem as human beings, we're pretty good at solving them, but we're sure not good at understanding the problem. So the human brain is not that durable, but we treat it because we think the skull's going to protect it. We take it for granted.
And the less we protect our brain, the less capable we're going to be to understand problems, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And maybe you want to add a little bit more about what the foundation does, but that's the mission, and it's all uphill. It is all uphill.
Well, we're happy to be helping.
When a positive diagnosis for CTE, which is only one aspect of the problem, but if we can get a positive diagnosis for CTE, you will see, and maybe the people will finally recognize that it's an epidemic.
Yeah.
The prevalence, and the prison's a great example.
Yeah.
But people whose brains are unwiring and deteriorating as we speak because they have this disease, if we can determine for real without post-mortem inspection that a person has this condition, then that may be the big step towards recognizing it and doing something about it.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody watches this show and they recognize a loved one, they think that they have CTE, what's the first thing that they should do?
I think what you do with diet and just trying to eat a Mediterranean diet, try to get rid of the sugars, get rid of and I tell everyone, go to the Concussion and CTE Foundation website. They have a helpline. They claim they helped 1,200 people. And if they help 1,200 people, yay. I don't know what happens, and nobody tells me, that I tell everybody go there, get help. I think the trouble is a lot of people that maybe think they have CTE can't even get online and do
Right.
that part.
Right.
It's hard to do that. Yeah.
So I have like a letter I send if somebody reaches out that I send to them with all the little suggestions I have for, how to.
So go to stopcte.org and let them know what you're in need of. And
There is a helpline out there, and they will find you a doctor, supposedly. They will,
Wonderful.
yeah, they
and
will
we're
find.
working together with Dr. Gordon and Dr. DeMayo, and I believe what our vision is to help what Dr. Gordon's doing with Millennium Health is going to change a lot of things, because the treatment he's got is real. It's really making a difference. I've been on it about a year
I
now.
hope so.
Yes.
Yeah, the only trouble with that is, David, it costs money that people
Yes.
don't.
Yeah.
And so hopefully with the helpline, and I don't know, I recommend it. I'm praying that, when they said they would do it 5 years ago, I was, thank the Lord, because I was trying to be the helpline for many
Right.
years.
Yeah.
I'm not qualified, never have been. And so they have qualified people, and they have a list of doctors, and there's supposedly, they brag about it, getting help for people. So I'm hoping that's happening for people that need it. It's a tough thing. And I think for caregivers, they need support groups. They need to find community.
Yes.
To stick together through that. And so I think having a caregiver, when I hear somebody has a caregiver, I'm almost like, okay, that they're going to be kind of okay. The caregiver might not be okay.
Got to get a rubber suit,
He's got somebody.
padded suit.
When I get scared is when they're in a truck, living in a truck.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. That's so true, because yes, we always try to have people who turn to us, but that's exactly where I struggle too, when someone says that, oh, I live by myself and I don't have anybody, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you.
Right before I met Fru, I lived on the street. I lived in a car. I lived in an old motel a couple weeks out of the month for about 2.5, 3 years. Right before I met
It's not
Fru.
just the isolation, but the care that they need. That when they don't get that care, they get worse and worse and worse.
The food,
The
kind of,
food, yeah,
the kind of
exactly.
nutrition you need, and all of
They
it's
need
just
good
bad.
sleep, good food. They need, it's
Somebody to talk to and all that
Well,
stuff.
thank you both
Yes.
for stepping into this
Yes, thank you
conversation.
very much.
It takes courage, and it matters. You guys, if I could tell you every day, I'll try to remember to. Y'all make a difference. You make a difference in my life, and I
They're
hope.
the ones I'm proud of.
I hope that I can make you proud. I hope that the goals and visions that Fru and I have, that we can succeed at them, and if we will owe it to you guys. That's
They're
how
big.
You
They're
they're
big
big
goals.
ones, aren't they? They're big ones. I believe we got to just knock
You
one
don't
down
think
at a
small,
time.
David. You don't think small.
No. Never have.
Yeah, that's not one of his problems.
My enemy's big, so it's really hard to think small.
Yeah,
Well, that's true.
good. I like that. That's
Yeah.
good.
And so for
We
everyone,
love you.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
We love you
and
guys.
everybody who's watching this, if this moved you, don't keep it for yourself. Comment and then check our comments so that you can get connected with the Patrick Risha CTE Awareness Foundation. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you guys for being here. We're going to let the music take us out, Fru, and dance.
Sure.
Y'all can dance with us.
Oh, we didn't know that was part of it. Wait a minute. Check the fine print.
Thank you.
Thank you
you.
guys. God bless.
We love you,
We love
truly.
We
you.
love
too.
you too.
Thanks for listening to Dr. Feelgood. If this episode meant something to you, share it with someone who needs it.
And don't forget to follow, subscribe, and leave a review. And remember, healing is possible. We'll see you next time.
With real talk, real healing, real good.
You constantly worry about their safety. then why aren't you worried about this? We've known the big hits are bad. Now we're learning all those little hits can be worse. Choose Brain Safe Sports. Learn more at stopcte.org.